Hi everyone, it's Cassie, the Young Teen Librarian at East Hampton Library. Today, for our virtual Make and Take Craft program, I'm going to show you how to make DIY cardboard letters and shapes. And for that, you will need the following. We have cardboard, so I have pieces of cardboard I have cut out. We have fine point markers and a pen for making patterns. As you can see, I have drawn a pattern with the pen on here, and then I'm going to color it in using the markers. We also have a template and an ultra fine point marker for tracing. So we have our templates here of our letters. All I did is I just traced on a piece of paper different letters onto pieces of, this was actually part of in like a notebook, so it's lined paper, and I just traced them, and then I traced them onto the cardboard and then cut out the shapes. And for cutting out the shapes, of course, you're going to need scissors and a box cutter or razor. Like, I have a little handheld razor, but a box cutter might be a little bit better because it's probably be a bit sharper. For me, now, most of us are probably not going to have a large template for making letters or even shapes. Like, this is all going to be letters today, but you can still use this same method to cut out shapes. What I did is I actually got this idea from a family member, where you search online and you find, the shape, that outline of like a letter. For example, this is the letter A. So I went on to Google, I looked up the image, I copied and pasted it into a Word doc, and then I expanded the image to make it as large as I needed it to be. And then from that, I took the piece of, the piece of paper from the journal that I took this out of, and I put it up to the screen of my computer. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. I put it up to the screen, and because the screen is backlit, it was almost like one of those those tracer machines where you can trace things onto tracing paper, because you have the light, it's backlit by the light. So it was backlit, and I was able to just trace the outline with the ultra fine point marker, and then all I had to do was just trace this onto cardboard and cut it out. So it's pretty simple. And then, of course, the last step, the one I'm going to go over with you now, is decorating, because the other steps are they're a bit time consuming and take a lot of time, and I don't want to be keeping you here too long. So what I did is I took this pen, I used it to trace all of these different patterns that I decided. This one was just kind of like, not a squiggly line. I can't think of what this type of pattern is called, but I made the pattern on here. I made kind of rings on the letter O. The letter V has little triangles, and then the letter E has little hearts. So as you can tell, it's going to spell out L-O-V-E, or love. Now, you could probably tell, you might see it off camera a little bit, but I do have some extra letters here because it's part of a larger phrase, but I figured I would show you just part of it today, so and how to do it. So I decided to pick a bunch of different reds and kind of like fuchsias and pinks to go with this theme. So now I'm just going to show you our pattern. I'm going to keep the cap off, but usually if you're working with a lot of different patterns, you don't want to leave the cap off if you're using them for a while, because they'll dry out. You also want to watch, because sometimes these type of markers tend to bleed. So you want to make sure we're not going to be contaminating the other, like where the colors are bleeding together, especially if you're putting a lighter color next to a more darker color. And there are 5 of them. So another thing you could do is you could figure out, like if you have like 5 colors, you could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then jump, so that way you can properly alternate, and then you can put the cap back on one of the markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we know that this whole one is going to be red, and then I can just cover this back up. Now granted, because it's on cardboard is brown, so the colors are going to show up slightly differently, but you can tell that they're like pinks and reds and stuff. It's just doesn't, some of them might not look as vibrant. Okay. And the nice thing about this, because these are pretty fresh markers, the inks stands through very well. It comes out pretty quickly. I don't have to apply much pressure to get the ink to come out. Okay. And almost done with our L. Okay, we are almost done with our first letter. All right, that's kind of cool, kind of cute. And then with this one, there are 1, 2, 3, there are exactly 5 rings, so it will work out perfectly for all of the colors that I have. These 2 are the quickest of the 5 of the 4 letters because they're simple patterns. So I'm going to mark the 2 from the outside and then work the inside and the outside and then work my way in from there. Very colorful pattern. And the nice thing about this is that most of us are going to have cardboard in some form around the house. So this is definitely the type of supply like that you would have, that most of us are going to have probably in abundance, especially since so many people have had to purchase food online and do a lot of online shopping. So, you know, a lot of us are getting many packages in the mail. But there we go. I think I'm just going to do 2 of them today because these are going to be a bit trickier to like color. Because my thought with these 2 is to use one of these colors as like a base and kind of color the entire background and then add the other colors to the little shapes. And that will be a bit more time consuming. But I can at least show you 2 of them. I saw something online, which I thought was kind of cool, was someone had taken cardboard and, you know, they cut the cardboard out, thin cardboard out into letters. Because this isn't thick cardboard, but it's not thin cardboard either because it came from a box. So if you have a thinner cardboard, what that person did would be better. And what they had done is they cut out letters and they had them all cut out, and then they spray painted them with like a metallic spray paint. And then they took like a little bit of like black paint and they kind of like touched up the corners so that the effect was that it looked like it was metal. So that was kind of cool, but of course that would require going outside because it's spray paint. You do not want to be spraying spray paint in a enclosed space. Just not a good idea. So here you go. Here's our L and our O, and then I will continue to color the E and the V. But it's a cute little craft, like a little way to, you know, take something that you already have in abundance and recycle it for something. And then you could like attach this to the wall and in different ways. One way that I thought of, which would be kind of interesting, is if you have like a hole punch, you could punch a hole in each of the letters and then put string through it and hang it up as like a little banner with string. I did that. I did the little paper banner in one of my previous videos where I took cardstock and I folded it into little triangles. It was like patterned cardstock, and I strung it up on some string. So you could do that with this, but you would have to use a hole punch. So that, you know, that's our craft for today. A little hope it's, you know, inspiring for you, for, you know, to use your creative side. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.